It was my third summer working at Pine Ridge Camp, and I thought I knew these woods like the back of my hand. But this night was different. I was on overnight duty, checking cabins after lights out. As I walked past the counselor's cabin, something caught my eye, movement in the shadows near the tree line. I froze, squinting into the darkness. Just a deer, probably. I shook my head and continued on my rounds, but the feeling of being watched lingered like a cold shadow. Later that night, I was making my final rounds when I heard it again. A soft crunch of leaves, like footsteps, coming from behind me. I spun around, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Nothing. Just the usual night sounds of crickets and rustling leaves. But as I turned to continue, I saw it. A pair of eyes reflecting back from the woods, glowing faintly in my flashlight beam. Then they blinked and were gone. My heart hammered against my ribs as I quickened my pace back to the main lodge. The next day, I mentioned the eyes to Tom, the head counselor. He just chuckled. Probably just a raccoon or fox, he said. But I couldn't shake the feeling. During afternoon activities, I kept glancing toward the woods, expecting to see that watcher again. Then I found it. Carved into a large oak tree near the archery range, a crude face with hollow eyes, pointing directly toward the counselor's cabin. It wasn't there yesterday. Someone was here last night, and they knew exactly where I'd be. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like footsteps. Every shadow on the wall seemed to move. Around 2 a.m., I decided to get some fresh air. As I stepped onto the porch, a twig snapped nearby. I froze, listening. Then came another sound, closer this time. A low, rhythmic humming. It wasn't a song I knew, just a tuneless melody that sent shivers down my spine. The humming stopped abruptly. Silence. Then, the creak of a branch above me. I looked up just as something heavy dropped from the tree onto the porch roof beside me. I screamed and stumbled backward as the figure rolled off the roof onto the ground. Before I could react, it was on its feet. It was a man, tall and thin, wearing dark clothes that blended with the night. His face was partially hidden by a hood, but I could see his eyes wide and staring, fixed on me. He didn't say anything, just stood there humming that same eerie tune. My mind raced. What did he want? Was he here to hurt me? I scrambled back into the cabin and slammed the door, locking it just as he reached for the handle, and slammed the door, locking it just as he reached for the handle. Through the window, I watched as the man pressed his face against the glass, his breath fogging up the pane. He wasn't trying to break in, he was just watching. Then, slowly, he raised a hand and traced something on the glass with his finger. It was the same crude face from the tree. I backed away, my breath coming in ragged gasps. This wasn't random. He knew me. He'd been watching me for days. Maybe weeks. My phone was in my room. I was trapped in this cabin with a madman just feet away, and he knew exactly where I was. He stood there for what felt like hours, just watching. Then, as suddenly as he appeared, he turned and melted back into the woods. I didn't move until dawn. When I finally dared to open the door, there was nothing. No sign that anyone had been there except for the fogged window and the faint outline of his face on the glass. I called the police, but they found nothing. No footprints, no sign of forced entry, nothing to prove he was ever there. Tom thought I was imagining things, but I knew what I saw, what I felt. That wasn't the end of it. Every night since, I felt his presence in the woods. Last week, I found small gifts left at my cabin door, a carved bird, a smooth stone, a single wildflower. Each one has that same crude face carved into it. He's still out there, watching, waiting. The camp director wants to send me home, says it's for my own safety, but I can't leave. Not until I know who he is, not until I know why me. Sometimes, when I walk the paths at night, I think I catch a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye. A flash of dark clothing, a glimpse of hollow eyes, then nothing, just me and the endless watching, darkness.